This world is such a strange place right now. We see the evil and the brutality in it. The power of kindness might seem like a small thing to you, but it's huge, especially to those that we love and we help. So when my friend Mo Pitney was here, he sang this song for me and then told me I needed to get to know this songwriter, which I have over the last months, Alan Levi. I just love him. He's a retired judge in Georgia. Trying to get him up here to play for us sometime. I told you he's taking care of his 96-year-old father right now on the ranch there, but he writes some beautiful stuff. But this is a song. Please go ahead, I am not in a hurry. Borrow my pen to fill out the tag. The airport is crowded, your gate is B20. I'll gladly carry your carry-on bag. It's really not scary, it's safer than driving. It's hard to believe that it's your first time to fly. I bet that your grandkids will be glad to see you. You leave here at 2, you'll get there by 5. I'm your airport, good Samaritan, here for one lovely traveler. Airport, good Samaritan, helping an angel fly. It's really quite different since 9/11. You see, those guys in the blue shirts, they're our fine TSA. They'll probably frisk you. You look like a terrorist. That walking cane is a dead giveaway. Sorry to hear that your husband just passed away. Please watch your step. Take my hand, almost there. Now promise you won't worry. Just wait till they call you. Hope you have a good Christmas and a happy New Year. I'm your airport, good Samaritan, here for one lovely traveler. Airport, good Samaritan, helping an angel fly. Sweet, yeah. Alan's a wonderful man. Well, as you guys know, Cliff Powell was here for 3 weeks while I was gone and did a fantastic job teaching on the end times and with biblical prophecy regarding the end of the age. He did a fantastic job. It was absolutely beautiful. He gave us a biblical chronology of how this was going to wrap up. He showed us how things are aligning. It was very powerful and it was very awesome. And now I want to finish that with this. The world is racing toward its end. I mean, things are happening, it seems, very quickly. And all what Cliff was talking about was incredible and fantastic Bible teaching. But now I want to ask the question, I can't change the world. So what do I do? How do I live my life now in my world as a person who's facing the end of all time? How do I live my life? Well, we're going to go to Peter. We're going to go to 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4. And I love Peter. What a wonderful apostle. He was the apostle of hope. He was writing to these Christians that were disillusioned by the way the world was going. You think our world was tough. You should have gone back to first century Rome and tried to be a Christian then. It was really difficult. They were dying every day, and a whole bunch of them were disillusioned. And there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And Peter showed up, and in this book 3 times reminds them of heaven. Now listen, this isn't home. We're going to be home. And told them that. And then he tried to get their minds aligned that trouble in a broken world is a normal thing. In fact, let me read this to you. He says in verse 1 of 1 Peter chapter 4, "Therefore, since Christ suffered in his body, arm yourselves also with the same attitude." Do you get the word armed? My buddy Barry Getson, it was years ago, he said, "Hey, let's go down to King's bookstore." I'm always into going to old musty bookstores, okay? I'm always into that. And usually he'd say, "I'm going to take you a place for breakfast. We got this place for breakfast." I said, "Great." I thought it was going to be Denny's or something, right? Not Barry. He takes me to the quirkiest, weirdest places in Detroit to eat. And in the seediest part of Detroit, there's a little Polish lady who in her basement serves breakfast. And I mean, there's burnt out cars all around and all that stuff. And the breakfast was incredible. It was incredible. But if it wasn't for Barry being with me, I would have eaten a lot faster than I did to get out of there. Because Barry's a state trooper. And while we're getting there, I said, "You're packing today, right?" And he said, "Yeah." He was armed. Since he was armed, I was good. I could go. This thing that Peter is telling us right here, Christ suffered in his body, so arm yourselves with the same attitude. In this broken world, things aren't always going to go great. They're going to be very difficult. Our family has been reminded of that this summer. It has been really, really difficult. But it's not unusual in a broken world. And that arms you. You're protected from despair if you will remember that. And I love Peter being the incredible apostle of encouragement like he is. Trouble is just a normal part of it all. And so, how do we navigate this world now? One of my mentors was Francis Schaeffer. You would know him. He died in 1984. He was one of the coolest theologians of all time. He lived in Switzerland. He was from Pennsylvania, but living in Switzerland for so many years, I was drawn to him because he didn't wear a suit and a tie like all of us Baptists and Presbyterians did. He wore breeches, knickers, okay? He wore knickers, and he wore a Nehru coat, and he had long hair and a beard. He was so cool, you know? He was just somebody I was drawn to, and he was brilliant. And he wrote a series called How Should We Then Live? And that was fantastic. How do we live in this world, in this moment, now? I ask the same question for all of us. How are we going to live? Because we'll definitely end up going the wrong way. And so Peter, get this. He begins writing, look at verse 7, if we could drop down to verse 7. Peter says, "The end of all things is near. Therefore, be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling, and each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace." I mean, I think this is such an interesting list that he's giving us here. And we're going to take it backwards. If we take this list of Peter's backwards, it fits a little better. Not to criticize Peter, it's just the Eastern mind versus the Western minds that we all have. They always save the best to last. I'm going to start with last, and then we'll move back in the verses. He gives us 4 things that we need to focus on if we're going to live in this world right now, in this strange world, in this strange time. Number 1. He says in verse 10, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace. You are not called to be a consumer Christian. You're called to be a server of Jesus Christ. And God has given, this is my point, you have a gift that needs to be shared. Everybody in this room, you are a unique and special person. God has gifted you to this world, this community, and this fellowship, and to your family. You are a special gift to them. You might not feel like it, but I'm telling you something. There are no little people, and there are no little places. All of us have been placed by the hand of God. You've got to have faith in that. That is absolutely true. He has placed us exactly where we need to live. He's put you right in the right places. You have gifts. If it's compassion or helps, or you help people administrate stuff, or you're good at organizing things. If you're a good cook and you bless people with that. I mean, whatever it is, use it for the glory of God. You know, Vince Lombardi, my dad loved, for some reason, my dad, he liked the Red Wings, okay? Tigers, no, it was the New York Yankees. And not the Lions, which you got to understand that till this year, right? I know you guys are all going, Lord, let it happen again. 5-1. This would be fantastic. I know it'd be a start like none other for the Detroit Lions in my lifetime. But no, he was a Green Bay Packer guy. And when I was a little kid, he would take us, my older brother and I, Jerry, you know, the rich one, he would take us down to Tiger Stadium to watch the Lions, usually in January when it was like 400 below zero in that place. Your bones would creak all the way back to the car. But we would go down to watch the Lions play the Green Bay Packers. It was a big deal to my dad. One day he leans over, he bumps me. Thomas, you see that man with the hat on down there on the Green Bay side? I said, yes, sir. He said, that is the great Vince Lombardi. Greatest coach in all of football, I think. Anyhow, Vince said something. He said there are 3 things a team needs to win. First of all, that team has to have great fundamentals of the game, and it also has to have terrific discipline. But those 2 things will not win football games. There's only this one thing, this third thing will win the football games. Not just fundamentals, not just discipline, but these team members have to care about each other. And if the team members care about each other, you realize something. That lineman knows that left tackle knows if I don't take care of my man, he's going to hurt my boy. I love that guy. I'm not going to let him get hurt. I'm going to do my job so he can do his job. Do you see that? And it's so true. We have to do our individual jobs of serving others well so that we can help others serve and do their job. We've got to do this. You have people around you that are discouraged and need to be loved and helped in their faith. You want to know why? Because they have gifts that they need to use in the real world. If you want to live a significant life in this crazy world, you've got to realize, first of all, that you have a gift that needs to be shared. Second of all, this. We need to take people into our real lives. This is what Peter's talking about when he says in verse 9, offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. That means taking people into your real life. Of course, in those days, it meant literally taking people into your homes because of the persecution. People were homeless, and Christians were needing to take people. Talk about inconvenient and difficult. It was all of that. They were told to take people into their real lives. Now, most of us know one another about that deep, right? You know, everybody knows the veneer of who we are. The Lord calls us to be brave. and to take people into our real lives. You must let people behind the veneer. The Apostle Paul talked about this in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8. He said, when we were with you guys, we were like a mother taking care of her children. And we not only shared with you the gospel of God, but ourselves as well. You get that? It's not just telling somebody about Jesus, you got to give them you too. It's very important. Very important. We need to take people into the inside of our lives. I know that's scary for you. A bunch of you are here from churches where you were very, very badly wounded and hurt through spiritual abuse and other things like that. It's time to move forward now. You've received your healing. Quit living so careful. God is putting people in your lives who need the real you and your real gifts. Really important. I played a place called Oyster Bay. And what I remember most about Oyster Bay was running from the alligators in that place. They were everywhere. Not little ones. I'm talking big ones, 12-footers. These things were huge. Huge. Okay, they were huge. In fact, they showed me a picture when I was there of one alligator that had bitten another alligator in half. Big ones. And so I said to the guy who showed it to me, come on, that can't be real. He said, I asked the greenskeeper, is this real? And the greenskeeper said, I took the picture. Okay? And we had one guy, we were playing, and this alligator was there with its mouth open. And this one guy I was playing with said he was playing with a group of guys, and the guy hit his shot, and it landed in the mouth of the gator. And the gator was sitting there with its mouth open. And you know what everybody said in the foursome? Play it where it lies. We don't move them around here. Play it out. That's called playing them down, they call them, when you don't touch anything. Okay. Anyhow, that was one thing with the alligators. Man, I had my left eye out there all the time. But it was a beautiful place in the low country in North Carolina. Back in away from the ocean. The swamps were beautiful and haunting. Rolling hillside. Beautiful old ancient colonial homes with the live oak trees and the moss hanging in them. And we came up on a stand of beautiful pine trees that are in perfect row. And there, I didn't see many pine trees there at all. So I said to Bob, boy, what a beautiful stand of trees. He said, let me tell you about that stand of trees. He said, those are the only pines you're going to see on this 9. All the rest of them came down in a snowstorm a few years ago. We got 6 inches of super heavy, wet snow, and the trees just collapsed. But those trees were planted close enough to one another that one got overloaded. It leaned into the next and leaned into the next and leaned into the next and leaned into the next. And they all stood the storm, and none of them were lost. I need you, and you need me. The storms are going to come. And so we've got to give our gift to other people, and we've got to take people into our real lives. Let me give you a third one. We're called to do something else. Look at verse 8 is where I'm at. And get this, above all, you want to put an asterisk by something? That's the one. Above all, love each other deeply. Love each other deeply. And you say, oh, isn't that sweet? Oh, you got to understand what deeply means. The King James Version translates it fervently. Fervent love. It gives the idea of attention. But it means more than that. It means to be stretched. You know, some people aren't easy to love, right? Oh, let me get this too. You might love me now, but if you had to live with me, I would stretch you. Okay? Because I'm a sinner too, just like you are. And the closer you get to people, when you try to bless people with your gifts, and then you do your very best to let others into your life, we're gonna see who one another really is, and we're gonna see our faults. We're gonna need to love one another intensely. We're going to be stretched. We're going to stretch that love because it's not always going to be easy, right? Oh, so true. we love each other deeply. There was an old German philosopher, Schopenhauer was his name. And the old man was the first that I know of that used the illustration of human beings trying to live together are like porcupines trying to keep warm in the winter. They try very carefully to huddle until somebody gets poked and then they're out of there. And, well, we huddle together. And we're going to poke one another and aggravate one another because that's the way we are as fallen people, okay? So we have got to step our love up with the help of God. Because it says here in verse 8, it says, love one another deeply because love covers a multitude of sins. You get that? Yeah, you're going to find out about me and I'm going to find out about you and we're going to treat one another with grace and love one another anyhow. Do you see how beautiful that is? It's so beautiful to me. I know there's some people that drive you nuts. And there's some people you really can't be around. In the first part of the chapter, when Peter is talking about, arming yourselves with this attitude that's going to be tough, he said, you're going to suffer, and suffering helps you being done with sin. And he goes on to say this in verse 2, as a result, they do not live the rest of their earthly lives for evil human desires, but rather for the will of God. For you've spent enough time doing what pagans choose to do, living in debauchery, lust, drunkenness, orgies, carousing, and detestable idolatry. They are surprised that you do not join them in their reckless, wild living. They heap abuse on you. There's going to be some people like that. You really can't be around them because they are so ticked that your life changed. And when your life changed, you let them know by your actions that they were not healthy. And they don't like that. And they're going to be on you about it. And they don't want to let go of you. I remember when my dad quit drinking. Now, for my dad, he couldn't, okay? Because Hamptons, I can drink 25 Diet Cokes in a sitting. With alcohol, it would not be pretty, okay? No way. I'm not touching the stuff. When my dad quit drinking, his old buddies would show up. Come on, Hamp, come on. Just one. And Dad would say, not today, boys. And they hated it because he'd gotten healthy. Well, that's going to happen with some people. So you can't be around them. But listen, with people that you should be around, and it's right and healthy for you to be around, they're going to stretch us. Everybody will. Two kinds of people in the world. Sinners and liars, okay? If somebody says they're not a sinner, they're lying, okay? Just live with them long enough, you'll know. So you love them, you let them stretch you. It says, because love covers a multitude of sins. If you really love somebody and they fail you, you don't go telling everybody about it. If you love them properly, you deal with it between the two of you, and that thing dies right there. You don't go running off to your friends to try to tell them how terrible they were. Right? No, love covers a multitude of sins. So, we all have gifts we need to share. We need to let people into our real lives. We need to love one another deeply. And then one more thing. We need to be sober-minded, it says in verse 7. Be alert and of sober mind that you may pray. What's he talking about? It's talking about being in your right mind and to think properly. And you say, well, I don't have a problem with that. Well, yes, you do. Because you live on a device. And that device is filled with clickbait. Do you know what clickbait is? It's people writing on the internet, on your blogs that you listen to, wherever you get your news, they write outrageous junk. And you say, oh, that's wrong. I'm going to answer them. I'm going to tell them how wrong they are. And that's exactly what they want. Because they make money off you clicking on their stuff. It's called clickbait. And what happens is this. Everybody sees what's wrong in our society. So anybody can take what's wrong in our society and make us angry about it. And if we become clickbait for them and we get angry about it, then we get stupid and then we can be manipulated. They can overpower us. Stop it. Be of sober mind. Well, how do I get there? I am so amazed, by the way, at, this tragedy in Israel. All the supposed Israel ministries last Sunday morning after the attack. Oh, send us money so we can help those in Israel. check those organizations. At least half of them are lying to you. They take the money and spend it on their staff. Okay? Be really careful about that stuff. We should help the lovely Israeli people. I would suggest Samaritan's Purse, by the way, Franklin Graham's organization. But yeah, they're fundraising, clickbaiting on it, getting people to give money, all that stuff. Listen, how do I move beyond it? Let me give you a few words. Number one, Colossians chapter 3 and verse 16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you. All right? I am so driven by news. I'm so driven by what is sent to me through this little box, okay? And by the way, I want to be informed, and I don't want to be silly about it. But this is a very small part of my life, and I need to be dwelling mainly on the promises of Jesus. Let the words of Christ dwell in you richly. It can also say dwell among you richly as a group of people. We've got to do that. And if you'll turn with me just really quickly over to Philippians chapter 4. We did this Max Lucado series on Be Anxious for Nothing. Be anxious about nothing, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, here you go. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if there is anything excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. So I got an idea for you. So Debbie and I know we've been on vacation for 5 weeks, but this whole week has been nuts since I've been back. This week looks crazier. So last night I said to her, how about we do date night? I'll take you to J. Alexander's, and you can get those crab cakes you like. So I made a reservation. We went out. She looked beautiful. Pfft, how does she not? And we went, and I didn't look at my phone once. That is really a hard thing for me, I'm telling you. But anyhow, we had a really nice time together. We had the date night thing. Now listen, how do I have a sober mind? Do you ever think about setting a date with Jesus where you shut off everything else and you take a walk with him? You set aside a moment where some time where you are not disturbed by anything else, and you talk to him, and you listen to him, and you talk to him. That's how you have a right mind. It's really important. So, those simple steps. You have a gift that nobody else has just like yours. You are unique in the body of Jesus. Give it away. You're not here as a consumer or in life as a consumer. And then, of course, take people into your real life and then love them deeply even when it stretches you. And then, of course, and absolutely make sure you're in your right mind. Then you will serve God in this broken and weird world. Let's stand together to pray. Come on, stand and pray with me. Father, thank you for each of us here in this room. Thank you for your love and blessing. Father, these people are so precious. And help us, Lord. Help us, because we are so distracted by all the stuff. And I remember the sign, Lord, that I saw while we were gone, that I thought was so interesting, that said, God didn't give us the book of Revelation so we'd build bomb shelters in our backyard. He gave us this book so that we would build bigger dinner tables and invite our friends over and tell them about Jesus. Father, help us now to walk with you in this world. Help us this week, Lord, to take a daily few moments to spend with you, to talk to you, to listen to your word. Help us, Lord, or we'll be out of our minds. Help us to walk this out with your help and your blessing. In Jesus' name, all God's people said, amen. Thank you for listening. If you would like to support Community Bible Church, we would appreciate your prayers and gifts. We can be reached at Community Bible Church, 1888 Crescent Lake Road, Waterford, Michigan, 48327, or at our website, www.cbcmi.com. We'd appreciate your gifts. We know that many can't give right now, so if you would, you'd be a great blessing to your brothers and sisters. God bless you. Have a great day.